Welcome to the Big O Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe.
Still the same damn kid from Oklahoma, same old dreams hanging off my shoulders, wishing and waiting on a shooting star for all to see.
And now your host, straight out of Oklahoma, former Buffalo Bill, Jerry Ostroski.
I'm still the same damn kid from Oklahoma.
Season sweep of the Miami Dolphins, and we're going to talk about it today here on the Big O Show. And we are the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, powered by Believe, and we're here every Thursday night. And normally 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Tonight, special time. Folks, you know why that is. Us people that have kids, it's Halloween, man, so we got to get ready for trick-or-treating. Going to hit the town. I got to put my kids out on the street and earn that candy as we learn about the dad tax. And the dad tax is a real thing in this house, believe me. So we'll be partaking in a little bit of that later on. We got a lot of fun planned for tonight. So wanted to get after it early and talk about this matchup. 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern, noon Central, Highmark Stadium. Buffalo Bills are 6-point favorites. Over-under is 49.5. And the Dolphins roll in a disappointing 2-5. Buffalo 6-2. Just a little bit about our Bills, folks. If you look at the Bills, and by the way, I apologize for the for the deal up. So you had to listen to me a little bit while looking at the deal. But anyway, I'm excited about Halloween, man. I'm too wound up about Halloween. But anyway, as we talk about this Buffalo Bills team, 6-2, taking on the 2-5 Miami Dolphins. Bills going for their 4th straight victory after losing 2 in a row. They've got 4 wins this season already by 21 points or more. This offense continues to evolve with new addition of Amari Cooper and the emergence of rookies Keon Coleman and Ray Davis. So we're excited about this Buffalo Bills team, but let's temper that a little bit. They are taking on their division rival, the Miami Dolphins. Yes, the 2-5 Miami Dolphins. But they're still a dangerous football team. Why is that? Tua is back, and we'll get into that a little bit as we go. But we want to talk about this Buffalo Bills injury report right now. And by the way, because of the special time, because of Halloween, Dr. Brad Bowen from Driven Physical Therapy and Performance will not be able to be with us tonight. He's working late, plus he's got a family himself. So we're going to talk a little bit about this injury report. And obviously, the main person on this injury report that everybody continues to talk about, that is Terrell Bernard. He has come back from the pectoral injury. Now he has the ankle, missed the game last week, was stepped on the week before. And he's had the red shirt taken away from him, folks. So he's actually progressing pretty well. How well, I don't know. If you watch some of the videos at practice, that ankle had so much tape on it, it was practically casted up. But he was limited on Wednesday, limited again on Thursday today. So we'll continue to follow that Terrell Bernard piece. And as you know, not just a dynamic linebacker downhill making plays behind the line of scrimmage, making those big splash plays for the Bills defense, but also a tremendously strong linebacker in pass coverage, a guy that you kind of need against a team like Miami because, like I said, don't let the record deceive you. And you look at the spread of being the Bills 6-point favorites at home, there's a little bit of, hesitation to make them double-digit favorites by Vegas as well because they've got Tua back. They still got Tyreek Hill when locked in, probably the most dynamic home run hitting receiver in the league, as well as Achane at running back. So they've got some weapons. So you've got to be, I don't want to say scared, but you definitely need to be cautious if you're this Bills defense, and we'd like to get Terrell Bernard back. Some other guys that have showed up this week on the injury report, it seems like the wrist is now the nouveau injury for the Bills. Christian Benford on that injury report. He was full go on Wednesday. He was limited today with a wrist. Another name that popped up on there, Brandon Codrington, the kick return specialist. Codrington with a hip and a knee. He was full both days, but he has shown up on the list. Maybe some concern for him. Obviously, Ray Davis stepped into that kick return role last week. Thought he did a tremendous job for the Bills. And so keep an eye on that as well. Codrington has shown up on the list. Now, Amari Cooper, again, another wrist. Limited both days, limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. I think some of that, quite honestly, folks, Bills fans, is them being wary of Amari's age and where he is as far as his career. He probably can get more mental reps than he needs physical reps. He'll make sure that he gets that timing down with Josh Allen and all that, but they want to make sure they take care of him. So you've got Cooper on the list. Gilliam's been on there. As far as other limited guys go, really Reggie Gilliam is really the only guy. You do have Curtis Samuel on that list as well with the pectoral injury, and we'll continue to monitor him as we progress towards Saturday's game in Highmark Stadium. So if you look at these two teams, again, the Buffalo Bills win the first matchup Thursday night in Miami, 31-10. We'll kind of go over some statistics of that here in a few moments. But real quick, I always like to give kind of where these two teams rank amongst other NFL teams before we move on and before we get into our keys of the game. But if you look at this group, points scored per game, Miami supposed to have the boy genius. Obviously, they've had injury issues, and that goes without saying. But 32nd in the league in scoring, dead last, 13.9. Bills are 5th in the league in scoring. So the Buffalo Bills getting things done as you would expect with Josh Allen and crew. You look at points allowed, Miami 16th in the league, 22.4. The Bills come in at 6th at 18.3. Takeaways, Bills plus 11, second in the league. Remember, Dolphins gave him 3 of them in that first matchup, 3-2 interceptions. You look at Miami, they are -3. They are 23rd in the league. Passing yards per game, Miami coming in at 186. Buffalo, and that's 26th in the league. Buffalo, 214. That's 15th. Rushing yards, Miami, 9th in the league. Achane, one of my keys to the game. We'll talk about him in a little bit. They 131 yards rushing per game. Bills come in at 122. 12th. Defense, passing yards per game, Miami giving up 176. That's 5th. Bills 13th at 208. And then you look at defensive rushing yards allowed, Miami 123, Buffalo 15th at 120. So rivalry, yes. Two teams going different directions right now this season, 2024 season of the league. Yes, most definitely so. And when you look at this first matchup, Buffalo comes in, and there's some statistics that are pretty wild, and they're pretty skewed when you look at this stuff. And we'll get into those here in a moment. But when you look at the last time these teams played, Miami, they tried to come out and establish the run. They tried to get Achane the ball, and they had some success. We'll give those stats here in a moment. But typical Miami, or more typical of what most teams are trying to do, they did pop some runs up the middle, but they did hit the outsides as well. You went to the quick passing game outside, ran some reverses and things like that to attack D-gap. Again, doesn't matter how a team does it. We all know D-gap, flats, that is a weakness for this Bills defense. Teams get to it multiple ways of how they attack it. Miami did it with some reverses, some sweeps, some quick outs, some things like that. But Miami did try to establish the run. I thought Ed Oliver had a big-time game against the Miami in that first game. Hopefully Ed has that type of game again. Was extremely active to extremely disruptive. You know, we talked about it when they got into the passing game. Tua turned it over a bunch. 3 interceptions. And then, of course, the run-in with DeMar Hamlin, and he has another concussion. If you look at the Bills, they very much Bills-like. This was PAC, okay? You got AD, all these things. This was PAC, pre-Amari Cooper. So the Bills were running orbit motions. They were running the ball. They were hitting Kincaid in the flats and things of that nature, trying to get the ball out quick. And Bills ran it. Didn't run a real complex running game. They ran a bunch of zone, and they ran dart. When I call it dart, it's a single lineman trap. It's what you see when you have Dion or Spencer Brown pulling by themselves, kicking out and things like that. But again, they started it with some short passes, some screens, got Cooks going. That orbit motion they ran early in the game by Samuel. Okay, if you look at that, hey, when you had that whole thing set up, that set up the Cooks touchdown as well. So anyway, Buffalo trying to get some things done. We talked about Miami attacking D-gap and all that. But if you look at the statistics, and this is where I thought it was really, really interesting, team stats, okay? A whitewash kind of game, okay? We talked about it. The score was a landslide, right? 31-10. Not a contest. Boat raced them. Buffalo, first downs, 13. Miami, 20. Rushing yards. Buffalo is 26 and 108. Miami, 34 for 139. Okay. You look at passing, Tua or the combined quarterbacks, 225 yards passing. You look at the Bills, 139 yards passing. Okay. Bills did get to Tua twice. That'll be one of the keys of the game that we'll talk about here in a moment. It's just, total yards, Miami, 351, Buffalo, 247. Okay. Penalties, Miami was penalized quite a bit, 7 for 50. Buffalo had 1 for 5. An amazing game for the Bills because we know that they've recently had a ton of penalty issues. So we'd like to go back to this version of the Bills where you have 1 for 5, right? You look at third down conversions. Miami was 7 of 15. Buffalo's 3 of 9. Okay. And here's the kicker. Here's the capper. All right. This is the thing that I look at. Miami held the ball for 36 minutes and 19 seconds to the Bills 23 minutes and 41 seconds. If you just pulled those offensive numbers, those stats, there's a good chance the score might be flipped. Miami dominated offensively. Bills were efficient. They did their thing. Set up with a lot of short fields and things like that with the 3 turnovers. And, of course, when you have 3 turnovers, you have 3 less possessions, right? You have 3 less possessions in a game. And that's a big deal. Not a lot of people think about that. Not only you turn it over and put your defense in harm's way, that is a possession you don't get back on offense. But just amazing to me how the narrative and the score, and even when you watch the game, you're like, this game was dominated by the Bills. Yet statistically, the Miami Dolphins dominated all stats on offense except for turnovers. And, as we move on with the show, I'm not going to be too long today. Like I said, we didn't have Dr. Brad Bowen, and that was on me. We had to get this thing done early. He'll be on next week, and we love having him on. We'll get back talking about the injury reports and all those types of things. We talk about this game at 1 o'clock Eastern time in Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park. Here's my keys to the game. I got 5 of them this week. Okay. 5 keys to the game. We need to do the same thing. Number 1, first key. We need to do the same thing we did last week. We need to start fast. And here's why. Okay. And this is something I don't think people really think about too much. This Miami team right now, even with a healthy Tua, even with Tyreek, even with Achane, all the players they got, even their head coach, Mike McDaniel, they can say what they say in press conferences. They can show their confidence. They can have bravado, all of those things. There is doubt in the back of their minds at all times. When you have a season like they're having, and the fact that they're snake bit, and Tua with the concussions and all the things that they've dealt with, and the rash of injuries that they have, they're snake bit. And when you look at a team like them, that is in the back of their mind at all times. We can't make the Dolphins believers on Sunday afternoon in Orchard Park. And how we make them believers is we go 3 and out, give up early scores, maybe turn it over, bunch of penalties, become stagnant, and just don't get in a flow. We have to find a way to start fast like we did last week in Seattle. When you start fast against a team that is struggling, it takes them out of it early. When you don't start fast and you've got a team that has talent, we talked about it. I mean, Tyreek is still that guy, right? When you give him hope, all of a sudden things get really, really difficult. And that's when I looked at this whole point spread thing, and you're looking at 6 points, okay? You're looking at a 6-2 team, all right, playing a team with 2 wins, and yet Vegas has them as a 6-point favorite. Well, there's some doubt in Vegas as well, because as good as Buffalo's has been, we still know that ugly side can show up at any time. Maybe Josh isn't quite feeling it. Not quite in tune with what's going on. Couple of turnovers. Give up something. And now all of a sudden you're in a football game. Good football teams crush opponents' will and hope early. Now, from talking to others on this show, talking to others on our other shows, we realize maybe game plan style and the way that Bobby Babbage Jr. and Joe Brady do things, which in turn triangulates into Sean McDermott. They play more for the second half. They want to get off to a good start, but when they start taking chances like blitzes and things like that, it's a second half maneuver because they don't want to show too much in the first. Hey, man, that's out the door to me. If you are that team, go be that team when the first 15 minutes starts, which is quarter one. So they've got to figure out a way to play fast. They got to figure out a way to start well, and they got to remove all hope from Miami early. And that's my number one key and probably my most important key to this game. Because if the Bills are the Bills, it don't matter what Miami does. My second key to this game is, and it's always this is a key to as long as I do this show and we talk about keys to the game and we play Miami, this will be a key to the game. So if you've heard this before and it's becoming redundant, you're going to hear it again. And that is this. You have to limit explosive plays with the Dolphins. Tua's back. Tyreek is Tyreek. They're still going to run shallows. They're going to run shallows. Your linebackers are going to drop deep. They're going to run shallows. The minute they come forward, they're going to run that deep sideline route or that deep corner route between the safeties that are way deep and the linebackers. They have a system. Tyreek runs that route better than anybody. He runs drag routes well, and then he runs that deep drag, almost kind of like a long corner route between the cover 2 safeties and the linebackers as good as anybody. You got to stop explosive plays. Achane, when we played him last time, not only had a bunch of rushing yards, he was 7 of 69 receiving, and he had 1 touchdown. Achane to me anyway, when I look at the Miami Dolphins, that running back, Achane, is the key to their offense. He's the glue to that offense. Tremendously talented. If he ended up in Buffalo, I'd be ecstatic. And then we've got 2 great ones. To me, I think he's that good. Has he had some issues getting going a little bit? Yeah, because their offensive line's not great. But he's that talented that he's still effective. But he's very effective in the passing game. And as you know, the way we play defense, he's going to make plays, which was evident by last time we played him with the 69 yards receiving and the touchdown. But you got to limit explosives. And that's probably, if you look at this Bills defense, what is the one thing they do better than anything? They limit explosives. They get God every now and then, okay? They get God every now and then. I believe that Marshawn Lynch made that quote famous. I don't know the whole quote. I want to, but it's pretty good. But they don't they don't give them up very often because of their style of play, which is kind of evident in those statistics that I said earlier. That's a Bills stat line. Give up all these yards and time of possession and everything and still win the game. But you got to limit explosives. Third thing, and I talked about a little bit while talking about two, you got to control Achane in the running game. If you make them one-dimensional, it's much better. They tried to get that running game going in the first game. They did get it going early, got it going some until the score got out of hand. Then the Tua situation happens, and all of a sudden your game plan's out the window. But they fed him a lot, and they fed him a lot early, and they're probably going to do the same thing. And remember, lots of outside stuff. The minute you try to respect the outside, those linebackers are peeking. He's going to pop one in a B gap. He's going to pop one in an A gap. It's going to happen. Hopefully, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, and the rest and the likes, they play the run very well this week. They're hit and miss. Last time we played them, we talked about it earlier, Ed Oliver was fantastic. So we need to have another Ed Oliver type game, try to control that running game. So make Miami one-dimensional, control the running game. We already know the passing game, when they're clicking, is hard to defend. So let's keep this thing that way so we can focus on that. Fourth is this. You got to protect the football. As you know by the stats, it's been tremendous. Josh thrown his first interception of the year last week. Some say it was a bad route. Some say it was a bad throw. He fell. I think it was a little bit of both. But ended up not hurting the Bills. They stopped Seattle. They didn't score. But you got to protect the ball. You got to take it away. Tua, 3 interceptions last game. And some of them were deflections, just bad decisions on his part. And we'll get to how you make him have bad decisions with our last key of the game. Because to me, anyway, this is a very heavy defensive keys to the game. Bills offense, that whole thing starts with key number 1, how fast you start. Because that's what it's all about with them. Start fast, confidence, they get going downhill. Nobody front runs like Josh Allen in their offense. But when you look at this whole thing, protect the ball, take it away. You take it away, that's less offensive drives, that's less offensive opportunity for Miami to score. Set yourself up in good field position. And then, of course, the cliche of all cliches, we probably need to get Dell to put it on a T-shirt. Complimentary football. You hear it every week. This is what complimentary football is all about. Taking it away, not giving it away. So finally, my 5th key to this game as we wind down on this Halloween edition of the Big O Show here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. Again, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We have recently gotten over 2,000 subs. That is huge for us. We're organic, man. We started from the bottom. Now we're here. This is where we are. We work hard. We want to bring you the best content we can bring you. Tell your friends, tell your buddies, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Hey, let's get over 3,000 now. And let's keep rolling and keep climbing. And the better we do in the subcategories, the more we can do for you as listeners and viewers. And as always, folks, we appreciate you for it. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. I have a blast doing this stuff. And thank you. But my last key, Ed Oliver and that defensive front have to disrupt Tua. They have to get to him. They have to hit him. They've got to knock him down. They got to pressure him. I'm curious to see the officiating crew, because when it comes to this stuff, do we have an officiating crew where if you breathe on the guy, it's a penalty flag, or will they let some things fly? Defensive front has to be smart. But when you've got a guy in a situation like he is, and I hate to say this, but it's football. It's the way things go. You've got to get to him. You got to make him feel it. You got to make him throw the ball early, move around, those types of things. That defensive front this week, to me anyway, I believe is the key to this game. Besides the start fast, that defensive front has to impose its will against this Miami Dolphins offensive line and the quarterback. It's on them. Is Ed healed up and ready to go? Is Daquan ready to roll? We get Von Miller back this week. Vaughn should be really rested. I would expect him to have the freshest legs on the field come 1 o'clock. And I want to see him play that way. 35 years old or not, he should be raring to go and getting out there chomping at the bit to make people forget about his 4-game suspension and make him remember what Von Miller's all about, which is one of the premier pass rushers ever in the NFL. Greg Rousseau. Now, obviously, with the injury to Carter inside, they're going to have to figure that out a little bit. He was playing pretty well, but I think they've got enough pieces. Johnson's a guy, obviously, but that defensive front has to establish dominance, and they have got to get after that quarterback. So you look at these keys of the game real quick. I'm going to go back over them just real fast. Number 1, start fast. Don't make the Miami Dolphins believers. Number 2, limit explosives. You'll hear that every time we talk about the Dolphins. Number 3, control Achane in that Miami running game. 4 is protect the ball, take the ball away. And 5 is Ed Oliver, that defensive front, has to impose its will on the Miami Dolphins. So, again, Miami rolls into Buffalo. That will be Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to this game. I would be surprised if we don't see another performance like we did in Miami. But I will say this. Don't be surprised if Miami shows up with a lot of pride and they play their tail ends off and they give the Buffalo Bills all they got. I think Buffalo eventually stretches this thing out, but don't kid yourselves. Miami's going to show up and play really, really well, and they're going to give the Bills a run for a little bit. I hope they prove me wrong. It would be nice, but hey, we'll see. But anyway, hit the like button, subscribe button, tell your buddies. Thanks as always. Tomorrow night, if these walls could talk, and then Sunday, my man Joe, he hasn't told us yet exactly what time we'll kick it off. Usually it's 8 Eastern, I believe. We'll have the Overreaction Buffalo postgame show, and then we'll start it all back up again with Off Tackle on Monday, On the Beat on Tuesday, Hump Day on Wednesday, back to me on Thursday. But again, folks, enjoy your Halloween. If you got kids, take them out. Let them get a bunch of candy. Again, make sure, dads, you establish that dad tax. You got to teach your kids, man. You got to teach your kids about the government. What better way to teach your kids about taxation than the candy tax on Halloween? So have a good time, folks. Stay safe. Hang out in groups and all that stuff and everything else. But again, we'll see you on Sunday night with the Overreaction post-game show. Man, we appreciate you as always. Hey, much love and go Bills.
I'm still the same day.